Welcome back to more Kofie. If you know me, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome in. And while I'm currently waiting for my Marvel Rivals to update, it's a new season. I saw that there is a NBA GM survey, and I find that interesting. I find polls and surveys of players, of GMs, I find that very fascinating, especially before the season starts, to see GMs around the league think about the league, because I feel like they always have to see the course of the league in a different way than the fans and even the coaches and players. They always like think differently. So I really want to dive into seeing how they think today. So let's get right into the survey. So the first prediction that we have here is who's going to win the 2026 NBA Finals, and 80% said the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'm going to be so for real. I don't yeah, it doesn't that doesn't, like, surprise me at all. Like, this Thunder team is stacked. Whenever I do a simulation on 2K, the Oklahoma City Thunder end up winning, like, the next 3 years. They're so good, and they're so scary, and it feels like this year, it's, like, competing for second once again. The fact that the Indiana Pacers, I feel like we're gonna talk about this in a decade or so, and we're gonna be like, "Dude, the fact that the Indiana Pacers got 7 games off of them is crazy. The fact that they took it to 7 is crazy." So, yeah, I totally understand 80%. Now, what does intrigue me is that 7% said the Denver Nuggets. I do think this is Jokic's deepest team. You have, the addition of Cam Johnson, you get Bruce Brown back, which is awesome, someone that knows how to play with Jokic, which is a very important thing. I do think that the Denver Nuggets are going to make a lot of noise this year. And I feel like if we get a Thunder Nuggets rematch in the playoffs, that will be the series of the playoffs without fail. For the Eastern Conference, it seems like we have Cleveland, New York, and Orlando splitting all of the first place votes in terms of, I guess, to win the East. And it's different because last year 97% of the GMs picked Boston to win the East. So I think this is more of an indicator that the Eastern Conference is so wide open. Now, where it gets interesting is the split of the second place and third place. You have 3% for Atlanta, 3% for Milwaukee. You have 10% for Detroit being third, which I will take. I will take. I think that Detroit's ceiling this year is the 3 seed. I would be over the moon with that. I think that would be very fun, and I wouldn't hate it. Now, in terms of the Western Conference, it looks like for coming out of the conference, Oklahoma City, once again, 87% to be first, followed by Denver. Houston, sneaky 3%. I understand that. But it looks like no one is really considering the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors. Like, and that's totally fair, I think. I don't think that the Lakers did enough this offseason to really frighten any of the top 3 seeds. And the Van Vliet injury for Houston is going to be um, a backbreaker the longer we see the season. But I do think that if we get to see Point Amen Thompson really flourish in that role, that is one of the most dangerous teams I can think of. Just from a passing standpoint alone, that's one of the most dangerous teams I can think of in recent memory. Because you have Şengün and then you have Amen Thompson, but you could have like dynamite passing out of the post. And I remember people were talking about like Amen Thompson being like the point and whatever. I'm like, I think at overtime, Amen Thompson was playing like a past first point guard that was 6'7". That's what was so crazy, and that's kind of what differed him from Asar, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Houston definitely sneaky, fun league pass team easily for sure, I think. All right, now who will win the Kia MVP? People are saying Nikola Jokic, 67%, 10% for Luca. I don't, I don't see it. I think that I don't see it because I do not see the Lakers performing well enough for Luca to get the votes, especially when you have Shea and Jokic around that. I just don't see it, especially well, Luca could just put the team on his back if LeBron is just going to be out with various old person injuries. But I'm just not counting on it. I wouldn't put my money on it. Shea could totally win back to back if the Oklahoma City Thunder look better than ever somehow. And I do think that it's crazy how Jokic has a claim Like he has a claim, and Giannis over the years. They've both had claims to being like MVPs. And the funny thing is that the MVP conversation in the NBA is always like I always see it as hey, this person should win, but if the other person does, I don't have any complaints. I feel like the NBA MVP race is always just so close that if you could give it to like 3 or 4 people every year, and I'd be like, yep, they all have a claim to do it. Now there's Victor Wembanyama getting 7%. If he's healthy, he's definitely going to put up the numbers. Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell. My hope for this year is that Cade Cunningham finishes top 5 in MVP voting. I'm not asking for him to win it. I do hope that Detroit makes enough noise to where we look and realize just how good Cade Cunningham is at basketball, because I feel like that's something that we constantly have to remind non-Pistons fans about just how good Cade was. And I'm so glad that Cade was able to have that playoff series against the Knicks, so the national TV audience got to see how much of a dog he is. I'm excited about that. If you were to start a franchise today and sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? Victor Wembanyama, 83%. Yeah, it should be Victor Wembanyama always. He is the NBA version of the Avatar. He literally had an Avatar-like offseason. Yeah, no complaints there. Which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments? Jokic is first at 57%. Now, the list 2 through 5, totally understandable. Now, last year was Luka at 33%. Now, maybe he led with 33%, but the fact that it's now Jokic, everyone's like, yeah, it's Jokic. And the thing is, this is Jokic after winning multiple MVPs, and people are like, yeah, you're right. I think that his passing gets better and better every year, which is kind of crazy to think of. And I know that Jokic doesn't really, and I know that Jokic doesn't really get as much attention in the pop culture sense of like people discussing him, but I'll watch Jokic play basketball any day. He is the most fun player in the league to me. And that's me as if someone that's a fan of like great passing. So that might just be my specific taste. But no, Jokic is a dog. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season in 2025-26? I think the easy answer is Amen Thompson. Asar Thompson for Detroit, as a Detroit fan, I gotta say, guys, that there's a part of me in the back of my mind that always wonders and thinks about what would happen if Amen and Asar switched roles. Like if Asar went to Houston and Amen went to Detroit. There's always a curious part about how different, because they're in different situations. Like Asar plays with Cade Cunningham, he plays with Jaden Ivey. In terms of having on the ball reps, Asar is not going to be given that in the half court, whereas I feel like Amen was just put in a Houston situation where he's been allowed to kind of, I don't know, try more things out. I think that's what that is. And also Asar, we know last year was dealing with the blood clot injury, so he was ramping back up, and I'm good to see Asar have a healthy offseason. I think that he's going to really surprise people this year. And I know that we always talk about Amen and just Amen. I feel like, I hope by the end of the season we talk about Amen and Asar together again. Also, another interesting thing, Brandon Miller out of Charlotte. I don't hate that. I like Franz Wagner. I do like Franz Wagner at 5. I do. Some I can't say it. I can't say that because it'll piss off Matt. Sometimes I look at Franz and I'm just like, is he better than Paolo? But that's just me, like with my hot takiness. I really have nothing to back that up. But Franz is crazy. I like Franz. I think if he has a breakout season even this year, the Magic are going to be like diabolical. Who's the best point guard in the NBA? Shea, 73%. Yeah, makes sense. Good to see Tyrese Halliburton get votes after whatever that most overrated thing was. Whatever that's a different poll, whatever. Best shooting guard in the NBA, Anthony Edwards, 70%. I do think it should be closer. I do think that we don't give Donovan Mitchell enough credit for how good he is. He's not underrated, but we don't overrate him either. I feel like we just don't talk about him as much as we could. Now, seeing Luka be top 2 and 3 for both of these, Luka's getting votes for 3 positions. This is what I'm noticing here. See, Luka is getting best point guard in the NBA votes, best shooting guard in the NBA votes, and best small forward in the NBA votes. I find that very fascinating. Now we have here best small forward in the NBA. I feel like Tatum is only getting 20% of the vote because he's hurt, if I had to say. And seeing LeBron get tied for fourth and Kawhi, small forward's a very strong. Wait, did Devin Booker? What was Devin Booker's percentage? Oh my God, Devin Booker's not even listed as best shooting guard in the NBA, bro. I was like, Booker's missing. I wonder how many votes Booker actually got, because this is what, 70%, 83%. So this is 83%, 90%, 97. I don't think Booker got a single vote for best shooting guard in the NBA. That's bulletin board material if I've ever seen it. Best power forward in the NBA, yeah, it's Giannis. It's such a runaway for Giannis. But it's interesting seeing what position people consider everything, because I could consider LeBron a power forward, right? I can consider Kevin Durant a power forward. You know what I'm saying? But seeing Evan Mobley get 7% of the votes, awesome. Love that for him. As much as I do not like the Cavs right now, they keep beating the Pistons into oblivion. M. Mobley is good. The Cavs are a fun team, and I do like the Lonzo Ball pickup, 1,000%. Highest percentage of total votes on position questions, Jokic, Giannis for sure. Now, which teams made the best overall moves this offseason? The Atlanta Hawks, 53%. And I agree. Getting Alexander Walker, getting Porzingis, getting Kennard, that team is going to be better than you think. And I think that this is Trae Young's best roster. This is the best roster that Trae Young will have, I think, for the Atlanta Hawks. Houston, of course, with the Kevin Durant deal, also getting rid of Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. I think that's a W here. And then the Nuggets, of course, getting Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown. The Magic getting Bane was good. Boston, 3%. Interesting because they did ship out Porzingis and Holiday. They got Simons back. I mean, they got Simons. Yeah, I get it. Which one-player acquisition will make the biggest impact? Kevin Durant, 73%. I do want to note that last year it was Paul George at 60%. And Sixers fans, I'm so sorry. I know you guys already had a rough week with the Phillies losing and the Flyers losing and the Eagles losing to the Giants. You guys didn't need to see this. I'm sorry. Most underrated player acquisition is Desmond Bane. I do think that the Orlando Magic really, as a team that struggled with three-point shooting last year, really needed this. I think that getting Cam Johnson out of Brooklyn is so important to me, honestly. Lonzo Ball, these are all great deals. I do want to talk, like the John Collins Clippers thing. The Clippers might not do anything of like note in terms of the Western Conference and how we view them, but the John Collins signing, I do really like. I think that John Collins he's not like I can't compare him to DeAndre Ayton, but I'm like, he's one of those like in those tiers of players where if you don't put him on a team that just takes out your motivation to play whatsoever, you're going to get great results, right? Where it's like you sent John Collins off to Utah. That team's been awful. And John Collins, had a couple of seasons where he did struggle, but then, got back to putting up his numbers. And I think that he can really benefit next to Kawhi, next to Harden, next to Chris Paul and Zubac. Like that team, the thing is that team doesn't need him to do everything, but he has the skill set to just Swiss Army knife his way in on the offensive end, I think. I also could see James Harden not being James Harden's favorite pick and roll buddy, but being a viable one, which I think is very important for just how James Harden plays. What's he only most improved in 2025-26? Orlando Magic, I think because of this is just off of the Bane thing and then getting rid of Cole Anthony. And I feel like just Paolo and Franz just playing together, and then Anthony Black, of course, as well. I think it's the Hawks. I don't think the Magic should be first personally, but I do. Pelicans 3%. I mean, yeah, the bar is so low there. I get it. What was the most surprising move of the offseason? Milwaukee waiving Damian Lillard. I think that's probably maybe a new normal because then Bradley Beal, they already they did the same thing with Bradley Beal. I feel like we're in a CBA era where it's just better to cut ties with that contract if it's like a big bad contract or a big swing that goes bad. It's better to cut ties with that contract now than it is to have that guy on your team if he's going to be hurt. Like, that's what's crazy. I mean, they literally did what the Pistons did to Josh Smith, where it's like, we're going to waive you and we're going to pay you like $5 million a year for enough of a time to where your fan base will still feel the impact afterwards. So yeah, Miles Turner to Milwaukee is also a surprising move because of how much those teams hate each other, but the Pacers weren't willing to open up the bank a little bit more. So I get why Miles Turner was just like, I'm just going to go where the money is, and it just happens to be Milwaukee. The Atlanta New Orleans draft trade. Oh my goodness, dude. If the Pelicans are bad again this year, which is pretty, the Pelicans could definitely be in the lottery again. But then you have Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver over here trading away their first round pick unprotected. Dude, these Troy Weaver and Joe Dumars. So here's the problem. They run teams. They run their teams like it's in the like late 2000s, like early late 2000s. They run like Joe Dumars runs that team like it's still the '04 Pistons. But the thing is that we've had 21 years of basketball evolution. Troy Weaver, I told Pelicans fans, I was like, the first thing Troy Weaver is gonna do, he's gonna get his guy. He has his guys that he really likes in the league. So what did Troy Weaver do? Got Sadiq Bey. One of the first orders of business was get Sadiq Bey from Washington, where Troy Weaver was working before. Then he also got like multiple centers, and then him and Dumars traded a unprotected first round pick to move up to take a center or a big in Derek Queen. I don't know, man. The Celtics breaking up their core also really shocked me because we were watching the Celtics versus Knicks series before. This is before the Tatum injury, being like, oh man, the Celtics, we know that they only have a couple more years of this because they're aging and whatnot, but I wasn't expecting them to just hit the button on all of this offseason. And I know that a lot of this was probably spearheaded by the Jason Tatum Achilles injury, but I just didn't expect it to happen so soon. All right, rookies and international players who will win Rookie of the Year. Cooper Flag, 97%. VJ Edgecombe, I can definitely see that though. I think it should be it should be at least 10%. I think that Dylan Harper playing next to De'Aaron Fox will probably get in the way stats wise. But Dylan Harper was my favorite player to watch in college, like with ease. I just like a left-handed player. Don't mind me. Which rookie would be the best player in 5 years? All right, Cooper Flag, 93%. Last year was Reed Shepherd at only 43%. So last year's draft class, people were just split. People had no idea. And 5 years ago was James Wiseman at 36%. And that makes me really sad. Biggest steal, Kasparas Yakachunas. Kasparas Yakachunas with Miami. I saw him play in the preseason against the Spurs, and he's one of my favorite player archetypes. Just a nice, flashy passer, dude. Nice, flashy passer. Gets the ball, like players, he'll pass to players that don't even know that they're open. That's my favorite type of basketball pass. My favorite type of basketball pass is like when a player doesn't know that they're open, and then the ball just immediately zips to them, and they're like, "Oh, That's my favorite type of passer. So I do think that getting him at 20, Ace Bailey, I wouldn't consider is a steal if it is a top 5 pick. We got to answer that ourselves as a society. Is it really a steal if it's a top 5 pick? I know that Ace Bailey didn't work out for teams, so I don't know if we can consider that a steal. That feels more like a drop in the bucket, like thank you. I don't know, but maybe Carter Bryant for sure. That Spurs team defensively, bro, you're gonna have backcourts in hell. You're gonna have backcourts in absolute hell this year. Because it's like, even if you get by Carter Bryant, you have Wemby to deal with, and that's annoying. Who's the best international player? Jokic, 93%. What's crazy is that Giannis didn't look like he got a vote. And I feel like we're at the point with Giannis's career that we take him for granted sometimes, where Giannis will just have a like level season where he'll drop like, what is it, 28 points, 13 rebounds, like 4 or 5 assists, but he plays in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee for the last couple of years has reluctantly not gotten their shit together. So I feel like Giannis's legacy gets a little bit hurt because of this. Because I'm not expecting 0 votes here from Giannis, which is kind of crazy. Anyway, best international player, Sasha Vesenkov. If I said that wrong, I apologize. Who's out here voting for Evan Fournier, bro? I need you to turn in your badge and your gun because you are suspended. Evan Fournier, no, you're under arrest for crimes against basketball. Get that out of here. Who's the best defensive player in the NBA? Victor Wembanyama. No argument here. Gobert Mobley, yeah. Lou Dort getting votes here. Interesting. In the NBA? Wait, Donde está Dyson Daniels, bro? If we're voting for Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels should get the Great Barrier Thief, bro. Come on. I hope that's crazy. Dyson Daniels getting no vote. Okay, best perimeter defender. Okay, so he's the best perimeter defender. Like So this is funny. Lou Dort gets 14% of the defender votes here, perimeter defenders. Dyson Daniels gets 31%. Dyson Daniels gets no defensive player of the NBA votes. Caruso, though, dude, the fact that they have 2 players here. Ooh, look at Asar, dude. Thank you. Ball knower. That's a ball knower right there. People are going to think about that Jalen Brunson cross on Asar to, like, end the series a lot, but Asar Thompson did make Jalen Brunson earn every single point that entire series. And it got to a point where when Bickerstaff subbed out Asar Thompson, we were like, okay, Jalen Brunson's going off now. Like, it was guaranteed because we didn't really have anybody else that could, like, really cover Brunson. And I got to give it to Asar for taking that defensive responsibility and trying to the best of his ability. Because Jalen Brunson is not an easy player to be assigned to for a series. Most versatile defender in the NBA, Men Thompson. Draymond Green still getting votes, and yes, that's still valid. As much as I don't like Draymond Green on the basketball floor because I don't like Warriors. Yeah, one of the more versatile. Giannis, I think, of course, dude. Giannis just sneaks in, not sneaks in. Giannis gets a lot of votes here and there, but when it's time to like win a category, except for like best power forward, I just think that Giannis should be getting more credit. Dyson Daniels, Evan Mobley too. Yes, dude, there are a lot of good defenders. Also, Kari Eason, ball knower. Asar Thompson, ball knower. Last year was Antetokounmpo, but then yeah, I get that. Best defensive team in the NBA, Thunder. Yeah, that's easy. That team will have you in hell, bro. I hate when my team, it's a league pass game and it's just me and the Pistons fans just watching the Thunder just put us in jail and we're just like, yeah, okay. Best head coach, Eric Spoelstra, 52%. Rick Carlisle, I feel like should get more votes here. I feel like Rick Carlisle should be at 7% at least. Maybe something I don't know, but I feel like whenever Rick Carlisle wins with like different teams over the years, and it's like really interesting to see that like. Also, I feel like Rick Carlisle. It might just be me. I might not be a ball knower, but it feels like Rick Carlisle is one of the coaches in the league that properly adapts to the era that he's coaching in. I think that Carlisle is always willing to learn new strategies and learn new things. And I can't say that for all the NBA coaches. I feel like there are a lot of NBA head coaches that are stuck in their ways, whatnot. But I feel like Rick Carlisle has always been like, he's been coaching in the league for decades. I feel like he's always been a coach that evolves with the times. And I've always appreciated that about him. Which head coach is the best manager, motivator of people? Eric Spoelstra, yep. Yeah, I have no problem with the top 5 here. I do think Bickerstaff did a hell of a job last year, but I understand why he didn't get head coaching, best head coach votes. Which head coach makes the best in-game adjustments? Tyronn Lue. Interesting. Dagnall too, yeah. Here's where Carlisle gets his credit. Yep, I think that he was very good in that NBA final series. That final series was basically these two. This was a chess match, honestly. This was such a chess match, and it was such a fun finals to watch. And it pissed me off, man. It pissed me off when the finals hadn't even started and everybody was like, "Oh man, what about the ratings?" I was like, "What about the basketball? What about the basketball? You had fun watching both of these two teams get to the finals, huh? But now they're suddenly matched up together and you're not going to have fun? Get out of here with that." Which head coach runs the best offense? Yeah, it's easily Rick Carlisle. I wonder what that offense will look like without Halliburton for a little bit, but I feel like the Pacers offense will still be fun. Best defensive schemes, Dagnall. Yeah. Bickerstaff gets votes for this, and I'm really intrigued on this because I feel like we have good defenders in terms of Isaiah Stewart, in terms of Asar Thompson, Ron Holland. Hopefully that turns the defense up a little bit more. Best assistant coach in the NBA, Micah Norton. Jeff Van Gundy? Okay. Interesting. I was not expecting to see Jeff Van Gundy's name here. But again, these are circles that I'm not in, so I'm very not surprised by it, but I am much like, oh, which active player will make the best head coach someday? Chris Paul. I do think it's Mike Conley. Garrett Temple, bro. Garrett Temple, man. Look at you. Garrett Temple, you're gonna be on the staff someday. Kyle Anderson, I can see that. Andrew Nemhard getting votes already. That's impressive. He's still so young in his career. All right, which seems most fun to watch? Denver Nuggets. Also receiving votes, the Detroit Pistons. Dude, we're a fun team, guys. We're fun. I promise you. If you have League Pass and you see the Pistons, click on the game. Click on the game. We had like a weeks long stretch where we were only in like buzzer beaters. Rockets, Lakers, Magic. Magic getting votes too. That's fun. Because Pistons Pistons got more national TV games this year now. Last year we were virtually invisible. And we kept getting games flexed because we turned out we were good. Pacers are a fun team. As much as I hate them rivalry-wise, yeah. Best home court advantage, Denver Nuggets. I think that's also an altitude thing. Thunder, easily, yep. Which team will have the league's most efficient offense? The Cavaliers. I think so too. I think that's a good vote. Those are good votes. Which team's level of success is the toughest to predict? 47% Philadelphia 76ers, bro. Dude, Sixers fans gotta be. I feel so bad because you did all of this trusting the process, and after all of that, process has been over. After all of that, every season we walk in and we're like, how many games does Embiid play? No idea. Does Paul George quit podcasting to focus on winning the championship when it's too late to do that? No idea. Have no idea. This is the most unpredictable team that I've seen in a minute. And it doesn't even have to do it's even the fun parts of the Sixers. It's like Jared McCain keeps getting hurt. I think Jared McCain's the most fun part of the Sixers team right now currently. That's so 47%. Andre Drummond's still on the team. I think Kyle Lowry still on the team? Kyle Lowry became like a part-time analyst, and he's still on the team. I don't know how that works. We've seen the most promising young core, Thunder, of course. Pistons, 10%. Rockets, 10%. I agree. Even after getting rid of Jalen Green, Rockets, 10%. That's how good their drafts, and that's how strong that their young core looks. Most athletic, Amen Thompson, 58%. Shaden Sharp and Asar Thompson. Asar Thompson, I feel like next year, best pure shooter, Stephen Clay. That's easy. Fastest with the ball, De'Aaron Fox. Yes. I hope that post-injury Jaden Ivey will have all of his speed because I think he's the fastest player in the league. Like, he's an absolute blur. Like, this Pistons team, I hope this year is just grab the ball and just run. And then, if that doesn't happen, Cade in the half court. Best at moving out the ball. Steph Curry, yeah, obviously. Duncan Robinson, Detroit, love that. Michael Porter Jr., Brooklyn. Best passer, Jokic, easily. Trae Young, only 7%. Oh, well, it's because Jokic is so good. I think that Trae Young is the best lob passer in the league. I think that Trae Young is the best lob passer in the league, and it's such a tough category because James Harden deserves that 3%. But Jokic is he is an incredible passer. So, yeah, I have no problem with that top three. Best leader. Which player's the best leader? Steph Curry, 43%. Brunson, 13%. Okay. Jokic, 10%. I like that. Most versatile player in the NBA. A two-way tie between Giannis and Wembanyama. I'm going to say Giannis versatile in terms of, like, defensive and offense. Yeah, I can see that. Like, a two-way player. Kay Cunningham receiving votes. We love that. But I feel like these results scream that everyone just has a different interpretation of what versatility is. That's what that feels like, is what it is. Best basketball IQ, Jokic. LeBron, 17%. Dude, the Jokic, it used to be 53, but like I guess people just watched how good Jokic was last year and was like, yeah, that's the smartest basketball player. Offensively, elite. Well, maybe defensively too, because he might not have the defensive tools to be a good defender, but he might have the IQ to be whatever. Which player you want to take a shot at the game line? Of course, it's Curry. Yep. Brunson getting votes, well deserved. And which rule most needs to change? Roster construction. every GM is like, dude, the apron rules are too harsh, bro. Please let me sign our good players. Please let me keep our good players, bro. 26%. 26%. We're like, please get rid of this apron stuff. I'm tired of this. And then draft schedule back to 1 day. Yes, the NBA draft does not need to be 2 days, bro. Like the second draft, like the NBA draft of all the I'm not saying all of the leagues, but the NBA draft was one of the drafts that just never needed a second day, because the second day only like a third of the players are even going to be there. Having a draft that could be done over Zoom basically is not a fun TV watch. That's what that is. Game flow, continuous faster review, hockey style subs. Wait, whoa. Who wants that? I don't want a hockey style sub. You mean like line changes? Bro, you want line changes on so you want like I could just send out Ron Holland on a fast break? I don't know how hockey style subs would work in the NBA. I'm so sorry. Playoff format, seeds 1 to 16. I agree. Playoff format, that's fine. Top seeds choose opponents. Don't hate that. I think that you deserve to be able to choose a matchup that you like. Draft system, can't draft in top 6 in 3 straight years. But what if your team is just that bad, right? The Pistons had the 5th pick 3 years in a row, and I'm telling you guys, we weren't trying to tank that last year. We were just run that poorly. So I agree that we shouldn't reward losing, but sometimes there are just losers running the ship. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching to the end of the video. I appreciate you guys. Feel free to support me on Patreon and Nebula, and feel free to give your opinion here. I want this to be a conversation. I want us to talk about this openly. Let's do that. Have a good one, y'all.